What is up, guys and girls? Hurricane Liz here, and in this video we're going to already explore ideas for March book creation. Now, I know a lot of people might think like, Liz, it's just January. What the heck is wrong with you? Truth be told, it's going to take a while to get these books up and running, as well as marketing, especially if we're doing things effectively and we're going to be making a lot of sales. So there's no better time than to start right this very moment. And plus, it's going to be very interesting to see what sells well in March and what could potentially be already selling well right now. So without further ado, I'm going to use my absolute favorite tool to do this. So I'm super fired up. I hope you're fired up. Let's go ahead and do this. All right, so here we are with my absolute favorite tool to do this. As you guys know, I call this the Kindle Time Machine, or literally it could be any product's time machine, because we can find out what was selling well pretty much at any point in time. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to jump into Helium 10's tool called Blackbox. And again, I do have my Helium 10 link in the description below. And I do appreciate if you buy through that, because I do get a commission from them. But again, like I said, this is a tool that I use day in, day out. I don't even get this tool for free. I pay for it, which goes to show to you that I really enjoy using it. So I'm going to use Blackbox from Helium 10. And here's all I'm going to enter. I'm going to enter the category of books. And then I'm going to use the magic in this and pick the best sales period of March 2020. Not March 2019, as I've absent-mindedly picked before. I'm going to pick the right date so that I don't have to do an update to this video. March 2020 is the date. And for now, what I'm actually going to select is no keywords at all. In the past, you've seen me add diary, journal, logbook, coloring, and we will get to some of those here in this video. And if you guys want me to do an additional one, then I will cover some additional keywords. But for now, we're going to leave that blank. And the reason for that is we just want to see a general overall theme of what is selling in March on KDP and in books. So I'm going to hit search, and here we go. The last thing I'm going to do is make sure this is sorted by monthly revenue, so I see the book that's making the absolute most money at the top. And here we can go off and away. Now here's an interesting book we've covered before. It's the Burn After Writing book, which I believe is a journal and or some sort of journal theme idea. But again, this could be done in many different ways as a parody. You don't have to have a matchbox in there, and you don't have to call it Burn After Writing. It could be Destroy After Writing. It could be a lot of different parodies that you can play on this. Just use your mind, brainstorm a little bit, and think of different objects that you can use here, as well as something that can be done after writing, right? Or coloring, or comic book making, or something to that effect. But this thing made over $186,000 in the month of March alone, which is pretty insane. And as I keep going through here, there's a bunch of novels. There's this Dog Man thing, which is really fire. And it goes back to the point of me saying, make a themed character with the name. Name him and keep coming out with things of him. Now here's an interesting one. Brain Games always has some really hot titles. This one is the Criminal Mind Puzzles. Collect and the clues and crack the cases. So this really plays upon the theme that people are obsessed with killers and topics of that nature, because if you watch TV on a day-to-day basis, you'll notice that a lot of the TV shows that are hot are crime-solving TV shows. So if you don't have a Criminal Minds puzzle and a criminal type coloring book, you'll also notice that some of those books, like Jeffrey Dahmer coloring books, sell a ton every single month. So I would highly suggest looking and doing some more thorough research on this book and things that you can do that solve mysteries and solve crimes and incorporate it in some type of book. In this case, they did puzzles. So you could do a spin-off of this in many different ways. You can even do a Sudoku puzzle for criminal lovers and somehow incorporate a serial killer theme or something of that nature. But this thing made over $115,000 in a single month just for that. Here we've got dinosaurs, which we've talked about in the past, and Dungeons and Dragons, as well as some poetry. Here is an interesting one, how to stay emotionally healthy and spiritually alive in the chaos of the modern world. So although this is a book, that still goes to show that at this period in time, people are really thinking about mental wellness. And so it could potentially open up the opportunity for you too to create some sort of book or coloring book or activity book for mindfulness and things of that nature. We've talked about that in the past. I'm not sure who's actually taken me up on that, but I have seen a couple of mindfulness books in the top 5 hot new releases. So it could be that some people are listening to me. Here we go with a couple other 7 spiritual laws of success. Again, going back to the whole spirituality thing and somehow incorporating that as a general overall broad theme. And lastly, here we have a very interesting one, and look at the total amount made on this. So this is the Anger Management Workbook for Kids. 50 fun activities to help children stay calm and make better choices when they feel mad. I've not seen one of these in the countdown since I've been doing these. And surprisingly enough, March of 2020, this thing made over $67,000. Sure, it was because of COVID partly, but I've not seen one of these in a while. And I think that anger management amongst children could be at an all-time high because of the fact that they've been cooped up, having to deal with their little brother, little sister, or any other little shit in the house and have had to deal with it. Possibly their parents punishing them, possibly not being able to play games, all things of that nature. And it's an excellent book, and a lot of parents would still currently be buying it because of the status of the world still today. So again, any type of anger management for kids would be fire at the present time. So let's go ahead and go to page 2 and see what else we see, if there's anything else that we can pop up here that stands out. Here again, trace letters, we've all been working on those, and some little readers. Here's Bushcraft box set. I'm not exactly sure what Bushcraft is. I don't even want to allude to what I think it could mean, but very interesting to say the least. Let's completely keep going. The complete rec, angel answers, oracle cards. Let's see, French recipes and things of that nature, Dr. Seuss. And we'll go one more page before we actually call it a day. Like, here's an interesting one as well. I think this would do well still even now. When the grid goes down, disaster preparations and survival gear for making your home self-reliant. So again, I think this would be an interesting theme to throw into a children's type niche so kids could also be ready. I think parents would buy it. I think it sold for $40,000 back in March, but I still think we're in the same status that we were back then, and or people would still buy it. So practical survival guide for kids, something of that nature would be absolutely awesome. And here's again, ending mental illness, which again goes back to the whole theme that looks to be very popular in March, which is mental wellness. And it could be from the fact of people got all these resolutions in January. They're trying to get shit done. They're trying to be better people, but they start to fail on or around end of February, March, and that's when they really need to kick it in their mental space. So let's see what else we got. Brain games, color by number. So we know color by numbers are hot. Paint by stickers have been hot for quite some time. And here again, sticker by letter from Brain Games. So Brain Games has a lot of really popular titles. And then here's another really good one. I've not seen it themed as this, but we have talked about solar system books and space books for kids are really hot. But this one took it a step up. They basically made this able to be unique playset cutouts. So all they basically did is they turned it up a notch and they created scissor skills with the planets. So they put two themes, combined them together, and we've talked about in the past. They did it very well, and they also made $37,000 in that month. And again, we got Dr. Seuss, we got mazes for kids, so it's not anything we haven't seen. Large print word searches. Here is another My First Toddler coloring book, and again, cursive handwriting, working on that. And a lot of French iconic cocktails recipes. I'm not sure if something's going on in the terms of with France in the month of March, but it could be looking into. But we've already seen the French cookbook that did well in March, and now here is a iconic cocktail French recipe book. So, you know, I guess a lot of people are wanting to get shit-faced at their house, and I can't blame them, because at the time that this happened, I mean, we all wanted to do some crazy, crazy stuff. So again, pre-K, 100 Deadly Skills. Again, another survival edition. So creating a survival edition for kids, I think would do extremely, extremely well. And it's always going to be popular when the shit hits the fan and people are in a chaotic world, which is from now until the end of the time, because let's face it, we are screwed royally. And lastly, here we have an Animatrix, a sticker, striking color by sticker challenge. That's really interesting. I would like to see what this is, but obviously this is a physically printed book. So that's what you get from overall themes here. Now let's look at one more. I want to look at journal. I could look at diary to see what's happening in March. Let's just look at logbook, only because we hardly ever look at logbook. And we could also look at coloring if we have enough time. I don't want to make this video too long, but let's take a look at what's happening in March and what's making the most money. Now, while logbooks aren't going to break your bank, and they're certainly not going to make you a ton of money, gradually over time, they will collect up and you will get some decent money. Like, they're not going to be as competitive. They're certainly not going to sell as well, but they will put some money in your bank account every single month. Now, here's a Crohn's disease journal, as well as a password keeper with butterflies. And I can attest to this. Ladies love freaking butterflies, I'm telling you. And we've also got a veterinary controlled substances use logbook. I don't know what this is, but it still made $100. And that's pretty fascinating to me, because I imagine that for this particular keyword or set of keywords, it's not that competitive. It's about as competitive as you in a race versus a snail. And this, we're not talking about Turbo the snail. We're talking about an average everyday slug snail that you see in the garden. And what else do we see? You can do today an intermittent fasting journal that's doing all right. And a couple of these, a Hawaii travel activity book, which I would have never thought would have been made, but yes, in fact, it has been made. And then last but not least, I'm going to look at this notary logbook, vintage blue and gold notary logbook. So interesting set of things. Let's go ahead and look at coloring just out of curiosity. That'll be the last thing that we look at. So let me first figure out how to spell coloring, since it's apparent that I might have less than a 6th grade education because I cannot spell coloring. So that's pretty pathetic, right? So let's see what pops up. Life of the Wild, an adult stress relieving, so with using ammo designs. Obviously, adults needed to de-stress in the month of March, and it's 28,000. And I still imagine with the status of the world, they still need to de-stress. So still be thinking about this and kind of using stress relief in your title, because really at the end of the day, an adult that has stress will cover any damn thing just in order not to get anxiety, because that ultimately is the goal, is to get rid of their anxiety or to help downplay their anxiety. So they'll color turds in space. They will color anything. This is a space coloring book. Add a turd in there floating around in space, and I guarantee you an adult somewhere in the middle of nowhere will want to color that thing, and they'll probably color it extremely well. So we got the space coloring book. This is for kids, but you could do turds in space for adults. And then we got a Japanese coloring book that also is doing well, and then mermaids and animal preschool coloring book, as well as unicorns. Unicorns will sell on anything. And here we go back to the idea that I gave not too long ago to color food. So this is a Notebook Doodle Sweets and Treats, which is a wonderful name. I really like it a lot. And some more space illustrations, which goes to show that the space theme is really good. And I do look forward to seeing the first Turds in Space book that pops out there. If you're planning to doing a Turds in Space book, I would love it. Send it over to me. I would be more than happy to color it myself. So let's see what else we see. In baby animals, as we talked about, Color Quest and Color by Numbers. I can color, well, I sure hope so, but this is for a toddler. So obviously toddlers usually cannot color. And then we got to connect the dots for school zone. So a lot of interesting topics that come up. And as I said before, you could search also diary as well as journal in here when you take a look and see what's hot, and you can see what pops up. A lot of the diaries will come up as real diary books, like the Diary of a Young Girl, the Diary of a Wimpy Kid. But if you scroll through the latter numbers of pages, you'll start to see some interesting ones, like this sloth journal. I don't know why people love sloths so much, but they are popular, and I don't know. It's just pretty interesting to me. But nonetheless, they sell, and they sell extremely well. So you're going to have to go through a couple pages to look through the diaries, because as I said before, a lot of them are really mainstream books, like the Diary of Anne Frank and things of that nature. But other than that, that's pretty much it for this video. Again, let me know if you found anything interesting, anything fascinating, or if you're going to make that Turds in Space book, because hell, I want a copy of that. I'll be the first to color a page, and I'll be damn proud as somebody. So I will see you guys in the next video. As usual, ask your questions and comments below. I always personally answer them. So peace out to the Turds in Space. Let's blast off.